Here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment, which is talking about the MLB draft and a little bit of a preview of it. Now, I said this in the last segment, going into this segment, the transition, but I understand the MLB draft isn't until July. I understand it isn't as important as the NFL, NBA, NHL, but I want to talk about it. You know, the NFL draft was yesterday, and it's also today, so I thought it was fitting. I thought we could get a little bit of a preview going. I haven't talked about it at all, which is kind of weird to me. You know, it is a big thing and it is notable. So I did want to just mention some of the prospects and just some talking points about it as well. So yeah, here we go. So we're going to be going off of MLB Pipeline's prospect ratings. I'm going to be giving my 2 cents on these guys as well. So number one for MLB Pipeline is a guy most people have number one, which is Charlie Condon from Georgia, a outfielder and third baseman. You look at his scouting grades. He has a 60 hit grade, 70 power grade, a run 40, arm 55, fielding 50, and an overall 65. This is the 20-80 scale. So if it's an 80, it's basically elite. You're perfect. If it's 20, it's bad. So you want to be higher up in that scale. So he has 70 power, which is outstanding. So Condon, you look at him, first of all, you see he's a huge guy. 6'6", 216, big righty bat, 21. You know, you think of power. As I said, you know, he has a 70 grade of power. So, I mean, this guy's just an absolute beast. Was not really a top 10 prospect going into this year. Was high up, but I don't think was that high up. But has really shown a lot. Again, his power has just been outstanding. Has been truly just amazing, and I think his pure skill set has risen him to the top of this list, and just the what he's shown with the bat has been really impressive. You know, this is a guy that you have in the minor leagues for maybe a year, two, if you really want to stretch it, but after that, you get an immediate power bat in the MLB. You know, he's outstanding, can hit the ball far, and I think will be an immediate impact to any team that gets him. Looking like the first overall pick right now, and we'll definitely have to see what happens there, but he's looking great. Next, second overall, we have Travis Bazanza, the guy who was mainly known as the first overall pick before Condon came on the scene, but a 60 hit grade, a 60 power grade, a 60 run grade, 50 fielding grade, 50 arm grade, overall 65. You could argue Bazanza is more of a well-fleshed out prospect. You know, he has more contact potential, a little bit of less power, but still a lot of power. Runs really well, isn't a bad defender. You know, this guy's mainly a middle infielder, mainly a second baseman, but I guess could play third if you really needed him to, but mainly is second base and middle infield. So, big lefty bat, 6 foot, 200. Not the biggest size, but at the same time isn't small. So, I look at Bazanza, I see a lot of potential there. I think this is a guy that is going to be a very above average hitter, could steal a lot of bases. I think just he's a really good lefty bat, a guy who's been on a lot of radars for a long time, had a 902 OPS as a freshman. Then as a sophomore, he had a 1.112, 122, and 11 home runs and 36 steals. I mean, this guy, since coming over from Australia, has been very, very good, and is going to be a top prospect in this year's draft. Could be the top pick. I think him and Condon are the two top guys right now, but we'll have to see, and we'll see where it goes. But yeah, a really, really great player, and someone I'm looking forward to watching with the draft and seeing where his career does go. Next, we have one of the most famous prospects, if not the most known, which is Jack Cagliglione. Now, Cagliglione is interesting as he is a two-way player. First off, with the hitting grade, you have 55 hit, 70 power, 40 run, 60 arm, 55 field, and 65 overall. As you can see, big lefty bat, 6'5", 245, 70 power grade, 55 hit grade. Obviously knows how to hit the ball well and be really, really great. But also, he pitches. He has a 70 grade fastball, 70, a 50 slider, a 50 cutter, 55 changeup, 40 control, and a 50 overall as a pitcher. Now, Cagliglione did burst on the scene a little bit last year, not within stats-wise, but popularity-wise, as Jeff Passan of ESPN, of course, as we all know, the top MLB insider, wrote an article about him, calling him the next Shohei Ohtani. That might be a little unfair, as we all said. First of all, that is insane shoes to, fill in. I mean, Ohtani, in my opinion, is already in the discussion for greatest player of all time. So having Caglione, in that discussion is unfair, but I understand where he's coming from. This is a guy who has hit extremely well in college, has pitched really well, has an amazing fastball. So you could say that, but I think when I look at him, I see a big first baseman power bat. I think he's a 30 home run plus guy every single year, a great hitter. But with pitching, I don't see as much. I think he has a great fastball, but after that, I don't really see much. I think his control needs a lot of work. His secondary pitches need a lot of work. I think if you really wanted to have him be a pitcher and hitter, he would be more of a reliever and a hitter, not a starter and hitter. But I think teams are going to see his bat and think, we'll let him pitch and see if there's anything that comes out of there. But assuming he isn't the best pitcher and he doesn't show much, we're going to let him hit for most of his career, which I think is going to happen. I do think he ends up being a position player for his career, mainly a first baseman, a big lefty power bat first baseman. A lot of big power bats here, Bazanza, Condon. So I'm watching Caglione, but a really interesting case here as he is a two-way player, and we'll have to see if he does stick there. I doubt it, but it's possible. Another big lefty power bat is Nick Kurtz. I mean, if you need a big lefty power bat, you need to be at the front of this draft. 21-year-old from Wake Forest, bats lefty, throws lefty, 6'5", 240 as a first baseman, has 65 power grade, 60 hit grade, fielding of 60 and an overall of 60. This is a guy who has been super impressive in his college career, just really, really great, has hit for a lot of power, has shown a lot of raw potential, and I think, again, with all the lefty power bats, with all the big power bats, not just lefties, he fits right in. I think that he's going to be a really great player in the next level. I think he hits great, and I think he also plays defense really well. You look at the defensive grade, it isn't that bad for a first baseman. So I'll be interested in seeing that, and just interested in seeing how he does develop. Again, a huge power bat. I think this is a guy that has a lot of potential, has really found his way into a lot of top pick conversations. So we'll have to see there. With him, I look at maybe a Mark Teixeira kind of guy, a Keith Hernandez, big power bat, first baseman. Hernandez more of a contact, but still great hitter, but great defensively. Also, again, we saw that with Kurtz, really good at defense. So we'll have to see there. But yeah, I think he's pretty great, and he has a lot of potential. So those are two guys I'd see for him. Next, we have Braden Montgomery. He is 21 years old, a switch hitter, throws righty, 6'2", 220 from Texas A&M. 55 hit grade, 60 power grade, 50 run grade, a 70 arm, a 50 field, and a 60 overall. I think a little more of a raw player with Braden Montgomery. I think he has a lot of potential, but may take a little bit more time to develop. I think with, he has average speed and plus arm strength, he fits a lot in right field. He threw 96 as a pitcher, but lacked control, and he did become an outfielder. So I think he has a lot of potential for the future. I think he's a really good player. I could see him potentially falling a little bit if teams think he's too raw, but we'll have to see about that. But overall, a great player, and number 5 on this list for MLB Pipeline. Next, we have our first pitcher on the list. We haven't had one yet. Well, if you count Caglione, he is a pitcher, but I consider him really more of a hitter, and both anyways. So next, we have Hagen Smith, a lefty. He is 20 years old from Arkansas. For his batting grade, he has a 65 fastball, a 65 slider, a 50 splitter, a 50 control, and 60 overall. He does, first of all, have some injury concerns. He blew out his elbow as a high school sophomore and had Tommy John surgery. But you look at his pitches, they're just incredible. A 65 fastball, a 65 slitter, that deadly two-pitch combo. I think he may need another elite pitch in the MLB to be really fulfilling that potential of that highly drafted pitcher. But I think he's really great, and I think there's a lot to love here if you are a team. A lot of potential to work towards, and a lot of just great pitches. So really good player here, and we'll be seeing where he does go. 7, we have one of the players I knew about for a long, long time, a guy who I was very high on, which is Chase Burns. Now, Chase Burns, a 21-year-old from Wake Forest, I thought he would be the first overall pick last year, is still in that discussion, but isn't as high as before. a guy who has a 65 fastball, a 60 curveball, a 70 slider, a 55 changeup, and unfortunately a 50 control. I think Burns has incredible stuff. I mean, his fastball, curveball, slider are insane. He needs to work in his control a little bit, like every single college pitcher does, but I think he's the best pitcher in the draft, in my opinion. I think that he is above Hagen Smith, and I think just the pure raw talent he has is incredible, and I am so excited to watch his MLB career, where it goes. I think he is going to be in consideration for that first overall pick, even though he is a little lower on this list for MLB Pipeline. I have him a little higher. I'd probably have him, to be honest, at number 4. I'd have him at number 5. I would go Condon, Caglione, Bazanza, Kurtz, and then Chase Burns, but that's just my opinion. So he's really great, and it's amazing pure stuff, amazing raw stuff, amazing raw ability, and I'm looking forward to watching where he can go in the draft. This is a guy who has been, again, sought after for a long time, going back to his recruitment to Wake Forest. So we'll have to see where he goes, but I think a really, really great player. Next up, we have the final player I'm going to talk about. These are the top 8, which is J.J. Weatherholt. 70 hit tool, 50 power, 60 run, 50 arm, 50 field, and 60 overall. Is a little smaller at 5'10", 190. Is a middle infield guy, second base and short. I think is more of a second baseman going forward. A Pittsburgh native, but so with this guy, I see a lot of hitting in this future. Again, 70 hit tool, almost elite. I think he is going to be a great, great hitter. Might need to work in his power a little bit, but I think he could be a 20 home run guy. If you want to go off average, I think he could hit 320, 330 consistently. We'll have OPSs of around 850 to 900. I think he's going to be a really, really great player and is really, really consistent, has a lot of great tools, and just overall is really great. So I kind of said great a lot there, but yeah, this is another guy that I have a little higher than MLB Pipeline. So I think he's really good, and yeah, I'll be watching where he does go. But those are mainly the guys I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the draft order now, because if you don't really remember it, so the 2024 MLB draft order is going to be, of course, we had the first year of the draft lottery, so it looks a little different than usual because the worst teams aren't in front. We have Cleveland at number 1, who jumped almost 10 spots. Number 2, the Reds, same thing. The Rockies at number 3. The A's, after having one of the worst seasons in baseball history, at number 4. The White Sox at 5. Royals at 6. Cardinals at 7. Angels at 8. Pirates at 9. And Nationals at 10. The Mets, Padres, and Yankees picks dropped 10 spots because they exceeded the second threshold of cap penalties, which is threshold of the competitive balance tax, by more than $40 million. So in other terms, they spent a lot of money, and they got penalized for it. The Mets were at 19, so they would have been at 9. You had the Padres at 25, who would have been at 15, and the Yankees at 26, who would have been at 16. So mainly hurts the Mets the most. They had that horrible season last year. Would have been nice for them to have a high pick, top 10, but ended up number 9 and falling down to 19. So for the Guardians right now, I would say the top pick for them currently is going to be Condon. I think he is the leading guy right now, but Bazanza, Caglione, and I think Kurtz are in a 4-man race, as well as Chase Burns I'd also put there. So I think it's those 5 guys that the Guardians have to factor in. It's a lot of factors. Is the player going to be happy going to a smaller market like Cleveland? How much money do they want? You want to save some slot money going into your other picks. So you might take underslot, you might take overslot, and just say, we don't have the first overall pick often. Give him whatever money he wants. We'll work on the other picks later. So there's a lot in factoring into the MLB draft that there just isn't with other sports. So we'll have to see what the Guardians do pick. If I had to guess, I would say it's going to be Condon or Kurtz. I think those guys have the edge currently. So we'll have to see there. But I'm really excited for the MLB draft. It is in July, so it's a long ways away. But with the NFL draft happening and it being recent, I did want to just give a little bit of talk about the MLB draft. We haven't talked about it at all, so just wanted to talk about it there. And happy with how it came out. So that was our third segment here today. We'll be going into our fourth and final segment, which is going to be talking about some news stories around the league. This is just mainly injury and transaction news related stuff that I couldn't talk about for a full segment, but I thought was still notable and I wanted to touch upon. So we're going over that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks and bye.